Hey everybody, it's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom and become the rock star agent in your market. And we have a true rock star with us today, Dan Beer, who's one of the number one agents in San Diego County in general, but leaders the number one KW team in San Diego. We're going to talk to him about how he's built his business. They're going to do around or close to $4 million in GCI this year, which is absolutely insane. And they do not have, spoiler alert, they do not have 100 agents on their team. So we're dealing with an elite team leader. So we'll bring him in a second. In the meantime, my illustrious colleague, co-host, co-partner, partner in all things crime related, and my speaking partner from earlier today at the San Diego Association of Realtors, Greg McDaniel. Greg, how are you?
What's up, Matt? God, it feels like I just saw you. Oh yeah, I did. I just left your butt in San Diego's airport. But what an honor, man. We had such a good time. I spoke on a panel yesterday. It was titled "You Have Questions, We Got Answers" with my co-hosts Barbara and Amy, and they were amazing. Got a lot of great interaction. Then Matt, you and I spoke at 8:45 this morning about, social media etiquette, the do's, the don'ts. Had a great turnout. We kind of did we started early because of the people that got there, and they kind of clustered around us. They kept coming in closer and closer, and it was super cool to be around everybody down there. So we're blessed and honored for everyone that came down who saw this. All you guys that didn't, you guys are totally screwed. No, I'm kidding. But we are just honored to have Dan here. And he's going to really bring some value to you guys, building a team, talking about what he does, how he does it. So please get out your tool, your prehistoric tool, the pen, and start writing, because this is what legends are made of. So don't be a bitch and sit in the corner and just kind of wish you could be good. Sack up and let's make it happen. And to that note, Dan, welcome to the show.
That was the best intro I've ever had. Thank you.
It is my pleasure.
Don't be a bitch is the takeaway of today.
That's
Hashtag
right.
Don't be a bitch. Hashtag be a winner.
Yeah. Hashtag sack up. All right, Dan. So, so give for the people that don't know who you are, especially if they're out of San Diego, give people kind of the 60-second overview of who you are, where you are, and what you do.
So, run a residential real estate team at Keller Williams here in San Diego County. We serve the entire county. My role on the team is to bring opportunity. That's what I do. We have a fully leveraged, built-out team. It's a specialized model, and it's a highly leveraged model. And what I mean by that is everything from listing manager to transaction manager, marketing coordinator. The operations team has their assistants. Showing agents, inside sales, company listing agent, and then we do have general agents on the agent side, meaning that our sales agents work both buyer and seller side. But having said that, the business, as far as appointments set for them, is always setting buyer appointments for them and listing appointments for the company listing agents. So the company listing agent's a very interesting role. Happy to share more about that. That to me is the path to profitability if you're building a real estate team. But that's what this whole thing looks like. And my role, like I said, is to really pave a path for where we're headed as a company, to protect our culture, to inspire people that are here with us, but also to find opportunity. Are we going to go after the divorce attorney market? Are we going to build a B2B business line? Are we going to go into REO? Where's the market headed? When that comes, et cetera. So that's my role.
Yeah, and I want to get into a lot of those questions because I know there's people, the smart ones that are listening that have been in business for a while are asking themselves a lot of the same questions. And I want to get to a lot of those things. And we've got some great people watching. Jason, what is up, man? Brooks Landry says he's watching from 35,000 feet. That is the only way to watch us. That's fantastic. Brandon Mulrennan, what is up, man? Fabulous agent from the Midwest, not far from where I'm from. So we've got a lot of great people with us today. But there's a great question that I caught on the lead gen description objections group that caught my eye, and I want to pose it to you, Dan, and then to Greg. So Dan Koifman says, I'm a new agent just starting out with Keller Williams in Manhattan. What would you do differently if you had to start it over again? So Dan, first to you, what would you do differently?
It's always such an interesting question, and I wish I had a perfectly crafted answer for you. I mean, there's a lot of, there's so much, right? And at the same time, that path has gotten us to a good place where, I love that I'm here. Having said that, I know you could get here so much faster and so much sooner. So the biggest thing I would have done differently is I just didn't understand that I was in business. You know, I stumbled into the industry the way so many people do, because what I had been doing previously wasn't really my thing. I was just out of school. I didn't like my job. I quit. I didn't have a job. So what did I do? I got licensed to sell one of my family members' houses. And so many of us in the industry, and it's really the biggest, you know, the big fail that's brought to us by NAR and then all of our local associations is just how easy it is for us to be in business. Point being, like, you're here right now on this podcast as an example, and you're going to hear things that I didn't hear until like 7 years into my career. And so that's the biggest thing I would have done. I would have pursued education, coaching, consulting, seminars, workshops, podcasts. I would have pursued that a lot sooner, and there's no question that would have accelerated my growth.
Dan, when did you first get in?
2005, right? So it's just when you get licensed in 2005, everything was absolute mayhem. And anyone that thinks the market's moving fast now, it was like crazy then. And so you get licensed, and I made a very fast, easy sale on that house that I got licensed to sell, of course. And I say that was my last easy sale. Because I was working kind of very high-end homes in San Diego, and even though the market turn officially really was felt in like later into 06, moving into 07, for most of the country, high-end San Diego property was already, you knew that things were changing deeper into the back end of 05.
Wow.
You could already feel the shift. That didn't mean that, everything had halted the way it did later, but you knew that things were different at that time. So that's when I got licensed, which created a lot of bad habits. And that's the unfortunate thing about a market like mine, or Greg, I think you're in Northern California, right, in high price point market, and markets like those, the biggest disservice that they create for the agents that get into the industry, or that the associations allow with the low barrier to entry to enter the business or to get licensed, is that there's so many people that will go get licensed so they can sell 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 houses a year. And that's how I got licensed. That's how I got started, unfortunately. I wish I had a better story for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because I've asked some other people that question. I think Jeff Cohn probably had the best response to that, which was very similar. Now, what's interesting about Jeff Cohn is he goes out and he actually does. Yeah. So he goes out and he interviews like the top agents in his local area, and they essentially give him the cold shoulder and have nothing of value to say. So his thing was, he gets done with that round of interviews of local agents who essentially told him nothing. And he went out and then just hit the ground running as a solo agent and just essentially did everything. Well, what he didn't do is he didn't think about, well, maybe there's agents around the country where I can go to them and get educated. So he waited, several years before he went out and did that. And to your point, like if you had gone out and talked to the local agents, you still may have not gotten anything. But it's the seminars, it's the podcast, it's the coaching conferences.
I would have learned how to be an agent. Sorry to interrupt. I would have learned how to be an agent that sells a few homes and then hits the beach, and so indisciplined. But to answer that question, what would I do differently? Where I also said, there's a lot of potential answers. Let's go through a mental exercise here on what if instead of real estate we had opened an ice cream shop. What would that have looked like, right? So if we opened an ice cream shop, we would have immediately gone out and looked at financing. We would have scoped out where's the best place to put our shop. We would have immediately been hiring employees. We probably would have had two or three different employees that we would have hired. We would have gotten a point of purchase system, a cash register system, a payment system. We would have created our process for how we scoop the ice cream. What will the cones look like? Where will they go? We would have had our brand put together. I mean, you get the point? We would have built a business, and that's just for an ice cream shop, that can't even remotely have the profit of our real estate businesses. Mm-hmm. And somehow this is the one industry that, despite its astronomical earning potential, you take far less seriously than an ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Or we all do, at least when we get started.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Greg, what's your perspective on it?
No, I'm 100% with Dan. When I got into the business, I was a douche. Well, we already know that because of my backstory. But I was seriously a pompous prick. And I walked around like a fucking peacock with my feathers all fluffed up, because I had a last name of McDaniel. I had zero credibility in the business. So I would have done a couple of things. One, would have pulled the stick out of my ass, and dropped back on planet Earth. And I wish that I had that happen to me. It has happened to me, but I should have listened to my father when, the man is, incredibly intelligent. And he said, Greg, I want you to go be the condo king. And I thought that was a personal slap to me, going, fuck you, the condo king. No, dude, you sell $1 million homes. I want to sell $1 million homes. And so that arrogance is what got in my way. And I should have been the freaking condo king for this whole valley. I should have dominated that market space, but I didn't do it. The other thing that I would have wished is that I wish I had, like Dan is saying, I wish I had gone and treated it like a business. I treated it like a new toy. I made way too much money right out of the gate, and I did almost zero work, and I had the entitlement issues, and just everything was just wrong. It was laid out wrong. And if I was a vascular system and human being, all the pipes would have been going to the wrong places. My body would have fallen flat on its face and died very soon in the whole process. And I also would have tracked my numbers better, and really been able to get into, like, what am I doing? Where am I doing it? How's it getting done? Where do I need to spend my time? Where do I not? And just really treated it as an opportunity to become absolutely massive instead of treating it like an opportunity to be a douche. And that's the one thing I would have gone back and changed. I really, but here's the thing. Like, Dan, if you and I had not done it the way we did it, we wouldn't have the story we have to tell now. So it's a catch-22 on that whole thing. But if you guys don't want to be a douchebag,
what year was that for you, Greg?
2000.
2000 when you started off that way. When was the shift for you? When did that change?
That changed in 2007 when I went through bankruptcy, foreclosure. I lost both my cars, both of my houses. I lost my girlfriends, because one left right away. The other one dated for a little while. She was super hot, but she's fucking nuts. She said I didn't make enough money for her, so she went out and hung out with lawyers, bitch. But whatever. She was bound to leave anyways. But that's when it shifted, when I got so humbled that I had zero pride. I had zero money. I had nothing to back me up. I had to make it happen myself. And that's when the rubber met the road. That's when I stood up and put my big boy pants on and said, you know what? I'm going to work today. I'm not going to play today. That's when, is this similar to your time, or when did it happen for you?
2007, I went to go pay my rent, only to find that there was no money in the account. And so that week, or a couple weeks earlier, whatever it was, but I still had it laying around. I had received a check from the credit card company. They'd send you these like credit card checks essentially. So luckily I had one of those laying around. That's how I paid my rent. And then everything just changed for me right there. And just like you, it was 2007. So when I mention at times that, the crash was such a positive thing in my career, and it sounds insensitive because, there was such tremendous pain, which, by the way, that tremendous pain also hit my own family. My dad, without going too deep into it, like retirements and a lot of stuff going on many levels that aren't exactly the way that they had been envisioned. But when your business is built around which one of Dad's friends are going to call, or what's going to happen today, or do I have an email that someone wants to do? No, I don't. Okay, cool. I'm off to the beach. When that's your business and that disappears overnight, and you have zero money in the bank account, even though you've been making six figures a year being a knucklehead somehow over a couple of years, because that's what those years allowed, then you are faced with a crossroads. I mean, and it's as cliched as that might be, it's the crossroads you have to decide, are you going to be a business person, or are you going to get out of the way? And so many people did get out of the way. So I'm thankful for that, and obviously coming out of it and on the other side, it's an easy thing to say I'm thankful for it. But I started asking myself interesting questions, which whoever asked that question earlier, what would you do? What would you have done sooner? That was the first time a few years into the business that I actually asked myself, okay, what's this lead gen thing all about? Like, what are people talking about with lead generation? Okay, so I have to actually purposely create leads. And I remember what a foreign concept that was. Which frankly also brings me to another point that I would have done differently. I was at a tiny little boutique brokerage where I was modeling like a superstar. That if you're a newer agent and you're at a small little boutique where the only thing you're doing is modeling a superstar who's been, by the way, that might be okay. it could be okay if that superstar's business, if that guy's a superstar because of the systems that they've created to systematically create repeatable business. But this superstar was like a country club superstar, right? Like he was just a superstar at being popular on the golf course. It wasn't a duplicatable model. It wasn't something I could do or something I could become. And so getting away from that, and had I actually been somewhere where I could learn the basics of lead generation and running a P&L on your business and just being an actual business person, that would have been a positive thing. But that's what I was forced into through the crash, and then fast forward.
Right. Okay, gosh, this whole mute thing's killing me. You and I actually, Dan, are very much on the same wavelength. When I got into the business, the reason that I was able to do business is because I rode my father's coattails. I mean, my first deal was $1,249,000, and it wasn't because I was super awesome. It's because the guy, his name is Jonathan Smith. He was my first client. He still is a client of ours. But the only reason he really did business with us is because of my father's name, not because of me. And when Terry stepped out of the business and when the market stopped and when all of his friends couldn't afford to buy and sell anymore, all of a sudden the market, our market just went face down. And it's like you said, it's a transformational time in a man or woman's life when you realize, oh shit, I've been totally codependent on someone else when that was your reality, but you never really looked at it that way because that was the lens you were brought into this business looking through. But I think it's the most healthy thing to look at it through what now the true reality is for you, for me, the lead gen, the businesses, the growth, the future, and just say, look, even if I'm going to chase the rock star agent that goes out there and just is a super popular guy on the golf course, that's not me. I can't do that. I hate golf. So what else can I do to generate the leads and really build your own business? So this is my challenge. I want all of you right now to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you living a fairy tale bullshit existence in the industry? Are you riding someone's coattails? Is it mom? Is it dad? Is it Uncle Phil? If it is, I challenge you to pick up your skirt, grab your balls, and move away from that opportunity and build your own legacy. Because if you do that, you will be the happiest human being on planet Earth. To be your own man, be your own woman, and build your own future instead of relying on someone else.
Really good. All right, so let's take a step back. Dan, why don't you quickly tell people how they can connect with you, especially if they're interested in potentially joining your team there in San Diego, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into your story.
Well, if you're in San Diego and that's what your interest is, or if you have a referral for San Diego, go ahead and just Google us, right? Beer Home Team. Easy thing is I can give you a number now, but you'll lose it. You just remember the name Beer, just like the drink. That's our team. I'm Daniel Beer, so Beer Home Team. But also, if you're an agent anywhere across the country and you want to download our business plan and the 6 disciplines that we go through in order to be able to scale out and build the business the way we have, then we have that all laid out for you. I've actually written out, it's like a 30-something page document that goes through these 6 disciplines, and that's yours, and that's also just free, which you just go to agentacademy.com. agentacademy.com. You'll see it right there on the homepage. Go ahead, download that, and you'll get a ton out of that. So those are 2 great ways to get in touch with us here in San Diego.
Awesome. And then for us guys, you can check out reuncensored.com. You can keep up with all that we've got going on. We've got our next class coming up in November called Getting Out Business. You can check that out at gettingoutbusiness.com. And we just came out with a whole free video course on how to do Facebook Live from your phone to nurture your database and your leads that you connect with on Facebook. Go to rockstarsocialmediakit.com to get that for free. And there's a couple good comments here. Marco Rossi says, great quote. I just read from a very successful realtor. If you were an employer and had you as an employee working the way you do on a daily basis, would you keep you or would you hire yourself? That is a great standard to keep in mind for yourself as an agent. And he's actually got a Rockstar Connect event coming up, and he's been told he's got the most RSVPs for a Rockstar Connect event to date, which is fantastic. He is beating Greg McDaniel in that area. So knuckles to you. So Dan, let's dive back in. What I'm curious about is, so you have this kind of realization that, hey, I'm not going to be the country club, glad handing, walk around and be the most popular guy on campus kind of business, right? So you're sitting around, it's 2007, you're having to essentially take a cash advance on a credit card to pay the rent. So you realize something's got to change. What was it, and how did you dive in? What was your first steps to kind of building a system that would generate leads for you instead of you having to transform your personality?
Sure. So I realized that I needed a dependable, systematized lead generation system, okay, that I needed to actually go create leads. So during this transition time, 2007, when everything, just things are going wrong, into 2008, I started selling vodka on the side for a vodka startup. That was interesting. But I also started selling debt settlement leads. Okay, so debt settlement leads, I don't know about your area, but in San Diego on the radio, there were constantly ads for, if you want to settle your debt, 50 cents on a dollar, call here, et cetera. So I was selling these debt settlement leads that I found really interesting, that if you could generate a name, a number, email, how much debt they had, and how long they owed it for, you could sell that record for $20. And I was selling them. I found out I was selling crap, but because of the data we were selling was just bogus. I mean, it was basically a scam artist I was working for. So I left, but the concept still made sense. Like, if I could generate real debt settlement leads, then what would it look like if I could generate 1,000 of them? Well, that'd be $20K a month, and that sounded pretty good to me. And so I went and I had actually had a closing come through, so I had a little bit of money, and I decided that I would build this debt settlement site, debtsettlement.net, I think it was called. And so the thing completely flops. I generate like 4 leads over too long of a period of time. It just completely failed. I didn't understand a lot that I needed to understand, like traffic and, a whole bunch of other different conversations. But with the little remaining money that was still there, and I fortunately had another closing come through, I said, okay, well, that didn't work, but this is an interesting concept that you can go online and generate leads. Like, this was like, I'm taking it to 2008, right?
Yeah.
2008, moving toward 2009. If you go back to then, everybody's website was basically a picture of themselves with a thumbs up, cowboy hat, and like their dog, and that was it, right?
Was this maybe when Tiger Leads was first kind of coming out, or maybe they were on the scene, but
people at the
just
cutting
started.
Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, people at the cutting edge, like the top of the country, like the best agents around the country, yes, they already had maybe early versions of Tiger Leads or Boomtown or something like that, but I was not one of those agents, okay? So I had never heard of anything like that. So I end up saying, okay, well, this online lead thing's interesting. I still know real estate, sort of. So what if I created real estate leads? And I tore down the vanity site that we all used to have and built a site on WordPress at the time using Diverse Solutions IDX, which, by the way, I'm not endorsing here by any means. It's completely outdated technology. But it was amazing how I started to generate leads. I would stay up all night long, literally all night long, studying SEO strategies and link building strategies. And trust me that 99% of the time when people are talking SEO, especially in the real estate world, they don't have a clue what they're saying. I do, because I've spent literally a couple of years just studying the heck out of it. And all of a sudden we're getting 3 leads a day, 5 leads a day, 7 leads a day, 10 leads a day. Then we switched platforms. We went to a more advanced platform off of the WordPress platform, and we peaked out at 17 leads a day, and all organic. And that was the first catalyst to saying, okay, well, we're going to have to figure out how to build a team here because we have a lot of leads.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's really interesting. Greg, so the whole online, it's interesting, that progression, like essentially going from very, very old school to jumping right to kind of the forefront of where real estate was heading, right? And going straight to online leads, and then we'll get into the challenges of that kind of stuff. But Greg, that's something that you guys have dealt with. You've tried literally everything under the sun as far as lead generation.
Yeah, we are the patent holders on predictive analytics for anything in the real estate realm. So any other company that's actually doing predictive analytics, they're infringement on our patent. And we were the first ones to the market doing that. So my father came up with the idea, like, there's got to be a better way to generate leads. There's got to be a way to know who's moving in advance. Like, the shotgun approach can't work forever. And so, like you, Dan, I was in the interim time, I was out selling leads, to agents in the downtime, $800 to $1,500 a month, and they were buying them because they were desperate. And like you, I mean, our first algorithm was complete bullshit. It was snake oil. Our new algorithm is not, though. That's a whole other subject matter and topic and conversation. But the interesting thing is that when you're forced to change, and Dan, I think that's maybe a reason why you did, is the fact that you had to find a way to exponentially increase your leads. And so you went out hunting out better solutions. You became a student of the industry, became a student of new technology. You're like, well, if it's going that way, man, I got to jump on board and figure out how the hell this thing is going to work for me. I can still do high touch, but this high tech thing is something I got to explore. And that is why you're doing nearly $4 million this year in GCI, because you're a forward thinker. And guys, you really need to, you cannot be at the tail end of new technology. Facebook Live is something that I would bring to point right now. This is going to be a lead generation source for you down the road. I had an opportunity to talk with James, on the ride in from the airport today, and there's some really cool stuff that Facebook is doing. And if you guys aren't in the front of it, if you aren't studying it like Dan did, you guys will be left behind. That's why he is the leader in his marketplace. So I think it's a total natural progression. I think I have massive kudos to you. That's absolutely the same path that we went down, and it's fun to do it. I mean, did you have fun, getting into this stuff? I mean, it's like a Wild West, right?
Yeah. Well, now I kind of giggle just thinking back at, literally reading stuff under the sheets at like 3 a.m. So not necessarily the way I would spend my time today, but I knew I was on to something. I knew my mind was expanding. I knew I was learning something that not everybody else was learning. And so it was just exciting. Like I didn't exactly know what it was, but I knew I was moving in the right direction. I knew I was focused on the right things. Like I was thinking a lot more about how I was going to generate leads and where we were headed and what the business would look like, and a lot less time thinking about what goals I was going to chase or what I was doing on Saturday night.
You can't stop thinking about that. The human race depends on you, bro. Come on.
Less time. I've contributed to the human race. I've contributed three little ones to the human race.
Yeah, you've done your part.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun just because you understood that. So here's how we connected back to, this is my story and Greg's story, and that's all good. But what does that mean for you listening? It means that if you find that you're coming to work and you're just sort of doing what agents do, why are you doing what you're doing right now? Well, I don't know. That's because that's what agents do. I'm looking around the office. That's what agents do. You're in trouble. You're so dead, you just don't understand it. Okay? You need to become. Step one is to really just internalize how average your office is, no matter what office it is. Okay, I don't care if it's. I'm at Keller Williams. I don't care if it's Keller Williams or if it's Remax or if it's Gold Banker or Berkshire. I don't care which one it is. What you're seeing around you is the manifestation of average. In California, you're talking about 135 hours of BS studying that you have to do to become a real estate agent. I mean, it's crazy, right? So you have to get away from that and into this type of room, and then become a real turning point was I became obsessed. I became obsessive about generating those online leads. I later on became obsessive about how to structure a team properly, what split structures work and which ones don't, how to understand a P&L, how to build that, how to have farming, right? I mean, we farmed 32,000 homes a month, but we didn't just start that on day one. It started off at 2,500, and I was obsessed with making that really work. And so it's systematically layering in permanent habits into your business that make the real difference. We talk about that in our own personal life, and some people have heard, it takes like 66 days to establish a habit in your personal life. And there's other metrics out there people use, and Greg's shaking his head, so he has a different idea around that. But in any case, which I'd love to hear in a second, I think it takes, in my opinion, it takes some period of time of exercising an activity before it's a habit in your life. The same thing goes for your business. And so becoming obsessed about really programming in whatever it is you're working on in your business as a permanent function of the business, then you go do the next one and the next one, and before you know it, what felt like slow progress starts to become exponential. And That's a difference maker. Why were you shaking your head, Greg?
Because I agree with you that, there's certain different levels. There's the basic level of doing something that takes, I think it's like 30 days. Then the moderate level of like in the 60 range. I think you're right on 66. I'm forgetting, but like the really difficult, complicated ones, like prospecting consistently, I heard it takes about 120 days, but I'm no expert in this. It sounds like you're a little bit more versed in that than I am.
No. Look, there's all kinds of theories, and I haven't spent enough time or care to figure out which one's exactly right. And probably none of them are exactly right. But nevertheless, there's time on task that needs to happen before something's permanent, right? If you're not smoking for 3 days, you haven't accomplished the thing. If you don't smoke for 50 days, I believe you. So
yeah, and there's something there too. Yeah, you talk about time on task. It reminds me of what Hank Aving says about systems, which is establish one at a time. And for the most part, like he recommends, like, dude, just spend a month and don't implement more than one system in that month and get really obsessed with that system for that month. And what you said is exactly right. So what most agents, and this is true of not just agents, but if you look at entrepreneurs or solopreneurs in any other industry, we get very scattered. And we try to attack, on all kinds of different fronts. And what we're not realizing is that it's like trying to push like a whole bunch of rocks up a hill. It's much better just to take one rock, let's get that up the hill, then let's push the next rock up the hill and really focus one at a time. And like you said, when you start building those and you start stacking one system on top of a system that's already running, right? Then you start getting the exponential effect. What people don't want to do is they don't want to exercise the patience of, I'm going to focus obsessively on this one system until I get it right. And man, it's going to be freaking right before I do anything else in my business. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did in your case. It was SEO to start out with. Then you got obsessed with farming, but you're building just systematically one brick on the other, and you didn't move on to another thing until you had that first thing down cold.
That's it, man. Just like you have to do for your personal life, the business needs the same. The business is a living, breathing organism that needs to mature, needs to grow, and needs to exercise a habit. It's really, you have to treat it like it's a person and nurture it. So.
Yeah. It's in this arena, and this is both. I would say that one of my most favorite things about real estate and about the whole kind of coaching, consulting, solopreneur space, but it's also our greatest weakness, which is that we have 100% control over the type of business we build, which also means that given enough time, our business is a direct and accurate expression of who we are as people. Is a direct expression of who we are, our own fears, our own hangups, our own habits, our strengths and weaknesses, and all that good stuff. So if somebody's been in business for 5 years, unless something dramatically happens to them to change their perspective, you pretty much know that's the business that they've chosen to build because it's an expression of who they are.
That's an interesting thought, because I'm an intense guy, right? I'm an aggressive, intense person, and our business is that way. I mean, we're all in. Every single person in our business is at the office 8 a.m. Everybody. And we're all prospecting and doing what we call our power hour for that 8 to 9 slot. And our operations team who's here from 8 to 9 is also doing their biggest, if you're going to call something your one thing, that's what they're doing. Right. What are they going to do that if all of a sudden they had to leave the office for the rest of the day, things would still be tidy and organized and we'd be okay for the day because they'd accomplished what they'd already gotten done from 8 to 9. And just from that to the way we run our week, from the way we run our sales meetings, our daily huddle, the entire, what I call the pulse of the team, the rhythm of the team, which is what I love to teach, it really is it's the way that you actually establish culture that's real without having to force culture, right? Culture isn't like, all right, here's who we're going to be. We're going to be people that are really into this and that are really fun by doing these 3 things. Like, you don't just decide these things. It's the heartbeat and the rhythm of the business that dictates what's going to feel like to work in your business. But of course, what you can consciously put together are you certainly build that around your core values. But once you've established those core values and you understand who you are and what that heartbeat, what the rhythm of work, what the team pulse is going to look like, well, that starts to bring the right people on. A lot of people will ask, how do you retain people so well, or why don't you have a revolving door like so many others do? And the reason is just starting with what I already told you. We're literally all in 8 to 9. So do you realize that when we interview people, we have people all the time wanting to be on the team, and they're calling, they're asking. As soon as we let them know, sure, see you at 8 a.m. You go, wait, what? Like, is this real estate? Like 8 a.m. So so that on its own already polices or self-governs that we have people that are the right fit. And pulling all that together and coaching to that, whether it's here internally with the team or just through Agents Academy or anything else we do, like, that's my passion point. I love seeing that happen because so many of the pain points that people experience out there, like, well, how do you get them to use the CRM, and what about, like, how do you get them to show up to meetings? All these issues that we simply don't have because of the way that because of who's attracted here to being here and who's not.
Question for you: at what point when you're interviewing people, let's say they interview really well, and then they show up for a week or two, and they're like 8 a.m. rock and roll. Then the third week it's like, they missed 2 or 3 days. Then the fourth week they missed 4 days. At what point were you like, bro, you were nice, but you're not a fit? Is it like the second offense? Is it the second? Where is that limit for you and your team?
It'd be right about that second one. They didn't show up one time. Why? Okay, right. Like the question is why. And what's been the pattern previously? Like, were they rock stars, like really showing up for 3 weeks? Few people do that, right? No one really like shows up 3 weeks perfectly and then just doesn't show up or disappears. So if that happened, we'd be curious why, and we'd make sure that they understood it's just not who we are, and it's cool if that's how they want to work. After all, they're 1099. They can do what they want to do. They can be where they want to be. They just can't necessarily do it inside my suite here in my space that I'm paying rent for, right?
Right. Yeah.
If it happened again, we would just literally, in literal terms, if it happened again, and I won't take credit for this. I learned this from Doug Campbell. We'd just go up to the person and say, if that was you guys, we'd just say, Greg, so sorry to hear you resign, man. Like, we've really enjoyed having you here, but we'll miss you. Good luck. Sorry, and that's it. You just don't need to have people in your life, whether it be personal life or business life, that take away from the vision and the direction that you're moving in and that the business is moving in. So that wouldn't be tolerated long at all, Greg.
Love it.
What I really like out of that is I love that line. Hey man, Dan, I'm really sorry to hear you resign from the team, man, but we love you, we miss you, and we wish you the best of luck out there. There are a couple of people that I wish I could do that to. Not currently, but they've been in the past that we've weeded them out in a different way. But, moving forward in some different ventures that Matt and I are exploring, I think that that's going to be a mindset that more teams need to keep in mind. Look, we all want everybody to be successful, but in reality, they can be their own version of success while they don't taint your version of success. And just like in a bad relationship, you're like, I can change her. No, you can't. Dude, she's going to be the way she is, all right? Batshit crazy. Or the way he is, batshit crazy, whatever gender you prefer. But that's the same mentality you have to have towards a team. Like, look, you're a cultural fit or you are not. No gray area. And
your team is getting
to do that? Was it hard for you to really kind of wrap your brain around and like do that for the first time and be like, hey man, Matt, I'm so sorry to hear you resigned? Or were you like, this is my team, this is my vision, nobody's stepping in between that?
So whoever's facing that, though, listening here and watching, you're going to face that at some point, and the reality is it's going to be so much harder than we're making it out to be here. Like, it's going to be tough, right? Like, especially when you're on your growth path, and every single person in a small business is just so important. You don't have people hanging around in a small business. You have everyone is playing a role that's critical. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. We've faced that 2 times this year. Twice this year we've faced that. where one of the guys, we're talking about an ISA that had in the previous month, right before he was asked to go, he had set 44 qualified MET appointments.
Whoa.
Okay?
Oh.
Now, this is an inbound pipeline nurture ISA. There's all, okay, ISA can mean a lot of different things. It's someone nurturing our existing pipeline and taking people through that pipeline, staying in touch with them, and eventually setting an appointment with one of our account executives, which are our agents. Or taking inbound calls, including the easy layups and the hard ones, okay? Nevertheless, 44 is a big number. So he said 44 set MET qualified appointments. We let him go that following month. And there were major just attitude issues. He had gone away from what we have very prominently on our core value wall. And I was really nervous about it. So what I'm just trying to say is it's not going to be easy. You're going to be nervous about this. You'll probably hang on a little longer than you should. Amazing, however, right, what happened when we let him go. The agents that he's setting these appointments for, you might think they'd revolt, and how could you possibly get rid of him? This guy's setting up all our business. They came in and asked, what the heck took me so long? Okay, they thanked us for it. It was awesome. And we have an incredible person now that is a great fit now in the role, okay? In our operations team, we face the same, where, a very important person to the operations team, very, very skilled at her job, that a culture clash, a core value misfit, and this one, my fault. I mean, the conversation was in the air for a long time. I kept saying, hold on. I didn't know how we would make it, right, necessarily without her. The way that, as soon as it's amazing how the other two people in that operations room, they kind of like get the heck home at 5 o'clock previously. Why? Because they wanted to get away from her. Now she's gone. These people are here working until 6:30 at night, 7 at night, making up for the time while we hire the replacement. And we have unbelievably few bumps because they're energized. So I know it's going to be hard, but look, I don't even have to ask them the question. Not Greg, not Matt, not me, not you, if you've ever hired someone and had to let them go. Nobody that I know in any business circle I'm a part of has ever had the gut feeling of, oh boy, this person's not right. And then it turns out that person actually becomes right. Never.
So true.
Not even one time. So instead of waiting 3 months to finally admit it to yourself, get exercise doing it sooner. It doesn't mean you have the thought and boom, they're fired. It doesn't mean that. You'll think through it. But if you can go from like a 3 month to 5 month to 6 month lag that some of us have experienced and back that down to, hey, we have an immediate, big conversation. Things have to be different. And okay, 2 weeks later, things aren't different. Bye. Your business is going to be healthier.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite Dan Kennedy quotes that Frank always said to me was, if I'm thinking about you more, like if I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about you and we're not sleeping together, I have to fire you immediately. I love that quote. All right, so let's finish out with this, because we could talk for a very long time. We haven't even really got into some of the challenges of building out and scaling a team, and I love that conversation. We will probably have to have you back to have that convo. But I want to get your perspective just real quick, because San Diego is such a leading indicator of where the rest of the country is going, and you briefly alluded to just kind of the decisions that you're looking at right now in terms of, do we get ready for REOs? How do we get ready for the market shifting and there be more expired listings on the market? So where's your head at right now in relation to where you think the market's going?
What we're seeing here is we feel like we'll have at least another 2 years of being on the better side of a bad market. And not that necessarily makes a lot of sense historically if you look at the fact that we're about 11 years removed from the last peak. Okay, so that's getting pretty long in the tooth. But having said that, short of a major world event in where interest rates are, which I believe you'll actually see some downward pressure on interest rates. If there's any let up on that stock market, it'll actually trickle down to the interest rates might actually benefit. And just how low and depressed inventory is in some of the major markets like San Diego or the Bay Area is just absolutely ridiculous right now. So even if correction begins, you're going from such a low inventory point to that there's no way for that to move fast enough, short of a major world event like a North Korean event. There's no way for that to move fast enough that we could possibly get into a painful market anytime within about 2 years from now. That's just what my little flawed, foggy crystal ball tells me. So in the business, we're just pressing forward. We're pressing forward, but we watch our cash every month. I mean, I'm obsessed with what's our cash position. One of the most important things I want to know. We have a savings account literally for the business where we're just stocking cash, and we're pressing forward with our marketing, keeping it very, very, very steady. We're studying digital strategies more and more to see where we could scale a little bit faster, a little less expensively. But what we're ultimately wanting to do is make sure that we're in a position, because the market will change at some point, we want to make sure that we're in a position where we can maintain our current marketing level through any kind of downturn and pick up all the market share that other agents will leave behind who leave the business. And we also want to make sure that we can fund an REO operation or a short sale operation for when the time comes. So those are also relationships and conversations that we're starting to develop also with people on the bank side, just in preparation, even though we believe we're a few years out from it.
Yeah.
I was reading some news on the plane, and that North Korea thing could be a real thing sooner than we expect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. I go to CNN.com, whatever you think of that site. It's not great, I know. But I go there a couple times a day, literally just to see if the world exploded yet or not. Like, okay, I just go, okay, the world still exists, and then I close it. Yeah.
That's fun.
It's your safety gap. You're like, okay, I can sell more houses because our president hasn't done something, or the North Korea president hasn't done something. Everybody's still living. All right, let's go sell homes. But the thing is about that as well. Yeah, no shit. The thing about that I want to touch on super quick before we close it down is, guys, don't let anything in the political arena, unless it's a major international event, affect your business. If you do or do not like Donald, that's your personal belief, but don't let that affect how you operate in business on a daily basis. Yeah. You've got to separate church and state on that one, because no matter what he's going to do in the White House, that's not going to affect you for the most part in day to day.
Well, and Dan, you mentioned like people that have been in the business for maybe a little less time than you and Greg have this perception of what the market's doing. Of course, you have the historical knowledge to know this is nothing compared to what it was 10 years ago. It's very easy to get into a sounding board of other people that agree with you. And if it's the opposite party in the White House, it's very easy to kind of start working yourself up into a frenzy of that the world is going to end. And we've seen it from both sides. And the thing is that if you know your history, things have gotten way crazier. The 60s were crazier, the 50s were crazier, the 40s were crazier, the 30s were even crazier than that. And so if you know your history, you know that this is not, number one, it's not that unusual. And number two, crashes and panics have been with us since the Revolutionary War. We get through it, we come out of it, and some of the most successful businesses in the world have come out of depressions and panics. So it isn't something, like you said, Greg, to your point, it definitely is not something that you should ever let it affect your attack mode in business. Be prepared for it, be sensible, be smart, have some cash in the bank, always keep your eye on the horizon and be prepared. But yeah, stay aggressive, stay on the offensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well said.
Dan,
so Dan,
where do they find you, man? Where can they stock you? Work for you and buy your products. Where can they get you?
So one easy way, if you just want to just dive in deeper on learning, I put out free training videos every single week, and we'll literally deep dive. They're not surface level. We'll deep dive on a topic that'll improve or affect your business, or something I'm seeing in the industry that I just think is worth awareness. So agentacademy.com. If you go there, you can download our business plan there. You'll also get that weekly free training video. And then there's other courses you could explore should you feel inclined. But there's plenty of free, awesome, deep training at agentacademy.com. You have a referral for San Diego, the Beer Home Team, just look us up, Google us, or you go to soldbydanbeer.com. We'll be very happy to take extremely good care of them. And, of course, make sure you're getting paid. So this is awesome, guys. I appreciate you guys having me. That time flew by, though. Time flew by a little bit fast. So if it was, if you guys enjoyed it, I'd love to come back. And if the audience wants me back, then you have me. Just let me know.
Oh yeah,
that'd be awesome.
The comments were great. The interaction was great. And there's so much stuff we've got to get into. We didn't even get into how you've built up the farming side and how, a pretty good chunk of your business comes from 2 zip codes in San Diego. I want to really dive into that and share how you kind of dominated those 2 zip codes. But for us, we'll have to keep that for another episode. Guys, for us, make sure to follow us on Facebook. Do not friend us. Make sure to follow us. Make sure to like the Real Estate Uncensored page here on Facebook, as well as check out the website reuncensored.com, where you can keep track of everything that we are up to. And then here in the coming weeks, you'll be able to sign up for Get Now Business, which we are launching again in November. That is our behind-the-scenes course on how to how to put commissions in your pocket, in the next 90 days by strategically going after the people that have a connection and a genuine need for what you do. So the 2 key types of people that you need to connect with. So, Greg, any final words from you?
Yeah, what's the website for the brand new product that we made for Facebook Live, Matt? Super quick. Don't forget about that.
And this is free, guys. So it's not a product you have to buy. This is a free training course. It's all on video. Rockstarsocialmediakit.com.
Yeah, guys, and then go to iTunes. Give us a 5-star review if this is helpful to you, so iTunes can serve this up to more people. As always, guys, we do this because we truly do love you. We want to see you succeed. We are there in your corner. I am getting more and more people that are hitting me up saying what we've put out has made a massive impact on their lives. That is the most incredible thing to hear back. That is worth more to me than gold. But if you want to send me gold too, you can do that. I'm not gonna be mad. But hey, I'm not going to be mad if they want to generously give in gold bars. I mean, Matt, who am I to say no to generosity? That's just rude of me.
We also accept thank yous in the form of cookies and a king cake. Did somebody? I think Trey Willard sent you a king cake.
Trey sent me a king cake. That thing was so good, dude. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to be coming back with Friday's edition. We're going to have some really cool shit. But until then, guys, peace out, ninjas. We gone.